Win big in 2024 with Team Sync from RotoBaller. Import your fantasy teams and sync your leagues. Get customized tools and tailored advice for your specific rosters and scoring settings, including live recommendations from the Live Draft Assistant, Free Agent Finder, and Lineup Optimizer. Sync an unlimited amount of NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL fantasy teams from all of the major fantasy platforms. Get a discount for any premium pass using my promo code Knuckler. Just visit rotoballer.com/radio and start rotoballing like a boss. This podcast is also brought to you by Parlay Play Fantasy Sports. Use my referral code RotoBrady. Get that sweet, sweet deposit bonus. They got free contests, paid contests coming to a state near you. They're slashing lines and giving out boosts all day long. Check it out. It's a fun platform. And what is up, everybody? This is Brady Grove bringing you another interlude episode of RotoBaller's official MMA podcast. Tap that. It is an off week for the UFC. There is still plenty of MMA going on this weekend. Follow me on Twitter at RotoBrady for my picks on all those fights going down. Follow the podcast at Tap That MMA Podcast on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. With me today, this guy is a new addition to the BYB roster. 5-1 as an amateur in MMA, hailing from the state of Wisconsin, 30 years old, former linebacker at Carthage College, D3 college football. Give it up for Lucas Kailing. Lucas, thank you so much for being here. How's it going?
No problem, man. It's going good, man. I appreciate you having me on.
So let's start back at that beginning part of, you played college football, and that was back in 2014. I think is either when you entered college or that was your last year. Honestly, like once you go back a little bit further on some of those D3 school websites, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. But fill me on your football career, man, because you made it to a pretty high level.
Yeah, I mean, relatively speaking, I guess. I just grew up playing football, and yeah, I think I started playing football at 7 years old, and my two older brothers played football, and it was just something I always loved and played through high school. I just moved around in high school a lot, so that kind of like threw off, I guess, recruiting possibilities. My grades were terrible because, well, I hated school, and I was literally moving Arizona back here, going to different high schools in Wisconsin, and then after high school, I mean, I think I had a pretty good career. I was an athletic kid and played football at Tyler here, and I at least thought I'd be playing college football at some point. And then by the end of high school, I just really hated school, and I didn't see myself going to college. And I had started training MMA at 14 at a Gracie Barra here in Kenosha, and would train off and on, like in season, obviously, I wouldn't train, but afterwards I would. And then let's say I started training a little bit at Ben Rothwell's. He opened up a gym here in Wisconsin around, I think I went there at like 18, right after I got out of high school. And I was just going to fight. And that's what I decided to do. And then I think a year later, I was like, I guess I'll give college a little bit of a try. Of course, some pressure from the mother and getting bitched at. But yeah, so I ended up just applying to Carthage College and was like, all right, I'm gonna go play some ball, and then had a good time there. But I just realized, like, yeah, again, hate school, don't see myself finishing it, and I just wanted to fight. So once I was done there, I just got back into fighting, and then we just started training again, taking fights on short notice, and yeah, that was the kind of beginning of how I got into MMA too. Kind of plays in with football, so yeah.
This will be the last football related question,
All
probably.
good. Hope that was a good answer. But
No, that was awesome. And
Can I give the real story behind that?
sure.
All right. So this dude, I played all 4 years, same high school football, and I'm a year older than Luke, so I'm a senior. And we have a little combine in the summers before season starts. And this is going to be Luke's first year playing for us. And he never came to weightlifting because he's always doing his own thing. But everybody always knew about Luke because he's an athletic specimen. So he finally comes. It's like a week before, works out with us, does the combine, and he takes first place in every event. faster than the running backs, wide receivers, and the coach tells him he's going to play defensive line and offensive line. So he's decided he's not going to play. He ends up moving about 2 hours up north. A couple weeks into the season, I think.
Yeah.
And the coach was one of his teachers, and he's like, "Oh, you're playing on the football team." So I would think, well, you played ended up 1 year then.
Yeah, one
Then he
year
was
there. Moved again.
nationally ranked power lifter at like 242. You were like what, 19, 20? And we had a buddy who was an athletic trainer at Carthage. So the athletic trainer buddy brought him into the football coach's office, and then he looked at Luke and he goes, "Holy shit." It's like, can you get any film for us? So they ended up getting some old high school film for him, and they wiggled him in a little scholarship. It's a great story.
It's not, yeah, they're not allowed to give scholarships for sports, so it was an academic scholarship somehow. But yeah,
That's actually super interesting to hear how like a school at the D3 level would kind of do a workaround for that. Like because the next question I was going to ask you is, it's got to be crazy given the circumstances that you gave me for, how you ended up playing college football. It's got to be wild to see what college sports is like now from D1 down to NAIA. It seems like the transfer portal and NIL, like that could have actually changed like the way that you approached that at the time.
Oh, dude, absolutely. The way kids are able to basically make themselves a business now and base it also off of their social media and kind of leverage that with schools is, it's a bit of the Wild West right now, but good for them. I mean, yeah, the way they finagled, I guess, me in there would be kind of different today, because I know a lot of, players will call coaches and be like, "Hey, Georgia offered me XYZ. What do you got?" So yeah, definitely would have been interesting. Man, I don't even know what that would have been like on a D3 level, but I do not like the transfer portal, the way it is today, how you could just kind of transfer whenever you want. It's almost like you're a free agent after every year, and then just the next best team. If you want to transfer to that team, you can. So
it does, like, it's a weird point for college sports fans right now, because like the floodgates have opened, like no matter what we think right now, it's like, I don't foresee them giving a bunch of money and freedom to, high level college athletes and then at some point taking it away, however it's going to, the floodgates are open. And so it's like, I don't know what the next stage of college sports looks like. It's got to evolve or it's got to disappear and, build up from a different foundation. But like, I have no idea, because before the NIL, we had like no idea what NIL actually meant. People were talking about it in terms of like autographing a ball and signing it and selling it like it's some event or something. But
Right.
like, no idea.
Johnny Manziel.
We had no idea what the implications were going to be for, college sports that before were not getting watched on TV even. So I have no
These
idea.
guys are already millionaires.
Yeah. I mean, and college gymnasts, it's not just not just, the Zion Williamsons of the world in college basketball or whatever. It's like, it has changed, women's college sports tremendously. And so, maybe there's some ripple effect there, and maybe that works its way to MMA somehow.
that would be incredible. I wish more schools would kind of adopt, I guess, combat sports as a sport that you could get scholarships for, or, get paid for and get on the team. I feel like if not MMA, at least boxing. They got wrestling. Why not jiu-jitsu? Why not, boxing? Obviously, you got to start hiring people, but I think colleges get enough money these days. But yeah, that'd be really cool. I think the social media aspect of mixed martial arts is getting a lot better. At least like the fighters, I should say, with like, their YouTube's growing. I wish there'd be more fighters who would kind of chronicle, the lead ups to their fights through YouTube, and I think that would help a lot with like those type of things too.
And so, you ended up making your amateur debut in April of 2016 at Yankee League Brawl Room 44 against Oscar Lopez. You started off your amateur career with 4 straight wins. And the crazy thing is, man, this is the thing I want to get to first, is like, I got to hear what happened for you between 2016 and 2019 and 2019 to now, because sometimes it's like you might be, even for a regional MMA, scene where all fights are kind of contingent up to the last second. It seems like you might be one of the unluckiest dudes in the world at having like some of those fights actually happen.
Yeah, I would say so. I think, yeah, there's a lot to kind of unpack through all of that. I think for that first fight, we just kind of took it on a whim from Wisconsin, obviously, and drove to where was that fight? Akron, Ohio, or somewhere
I
outside of.
wasn't even involved yet. I think yeah, I needed to see it to believe it type deal from you at first.
It was in Brookfield. It was in Brookfield, Ohio.
Okay, Brookfield, Ohio. Thank you. Yeah, I had a few fights. Excuse me. I'm just going. I got to move into. I was in my garage before this. I'm sorry to
No, it's
mess up the middle of your show here.
the garage is cool background though, for sure.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I had a few fights drop out actually before that, and I was supposed to fight at like 205 before that, and then I was weighing like 240 or something. We were like, all right, that's not gonna happen. In the time frame I only had like a few weeks. And then we got that fight and we just rode out to Ohio, just gangster, just a few of us in this little Chevy Cobalt. There was like 4 250-pound dudes sitting in it, and yeah, just rolled in, did work, and that was fun. I think it was 50 something seconds, I think was the finish. And yeah, it had a blast and then just kept it rolling. And then after my fourth one, I fought Chad Johnson, and that was on Tyler. What was that? 48-hour notice maybe. And they wanted me to get to like 225, and I was 238, I think. So I was able to suck that down and get there. And well, pause. But I was able to get down to the weight real quick, and then yeah, weighed in and fought him. And the crazy thing is I hadn't trained for like 3 weeks leading up to that fight. I was in Arizona
For a whole month.
And yeah, whole month probably. I was in Arizona before that, and I was at Power MMA out there, and I just kind of tweaked my knee rolling a little bit. Like it wasn't a tear, it was just, I don't know, just tweaked a little bit, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a rest. Went back home, or came back here to Wisconsin, and then just took off a little bit. And then they called me, and I was like, well, it's an amateur fight, so if I lose, whatever, it doesn't mean too much. And it was for the King of the Cage title, so let's roll. And I was like 22 at the time, I think, and he was like 32, and I was like, I'll go knock some old men out. But now I'm here at 30. But I actually dropped him like 3 times in the first round, and then he had shot a takedown on me, and we were up against the cage, and he was around my waist, and his head was on the side. And well, I hit him with some elbows to the side of his head, and we were actually in his hometown. And he ended up, we were like right in his corner. His corner starts shouting, and then I'm hitting him in the back of the head. So Cecil Peoples was the ref. He comes and stops it and gives him like 5 minutes to recover. And he's stumbling. And right after I hit him with that last elbow, I could feel his hands kind of come apart, and he kind of collapsed. And I was thinking like, all right, I'm about to finish this dude. And then he gets the time to recover. I'm not in shape. I'm gassed in the corner because the pace we put on from the moment was just go. And he was not trying to get hit by me at all, so he just kept shooting takedowns. And then yeah, he recovers, and then we go back out there and finish the round. I think there was only a minute, I think, before, like from the time I elbowed him to the actual end of the match, there's a minute left. And then we get into the corner, and I just remember sitting down, and my brother's in my corner, and he's trying to talk to me, and then I just don't hear anything that's going on. I was so gassed. I go to stand up, and I didn't have my legs, and I was like, all right, fuck. Walk out there, and we exchange real quick. He shoots a takedown, and yeah, he just blasted me in the face a bunch of times, and the ref just came over and stopped it. And then I needed to get oxygen, and the medical team in the back like, put the heart rate monitor on me. My heart rate, Tyler still has a photo. I'm trying to get oxygen. My heart rate was like 207. It was just out of this world. It was super high. And like, that's why I couldn't get oxygen like I needed. And I was gassed. And then I was trying to tell Chad, like, yo, let's run this back. And he was like, yeah, not happening. And then anytime I've asked him over the years, they've always turned it down. But he's a good guy. I like Chad.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say about that, dude. And especially hearing, the what led up to it and how the fight played out. That's a meaningful fight, dude. Like that dude has been in PFL, in LFA, on 2 occasions, fought in the Contender Series, was the King of the Cage Pro Heavyweight Champion. And so, even though he did come up short in a lot of those fights in some of those more major organizations, it like that's how that goes in the heavyweight division sometimes in the PFL and stuff. You don't know a lot about a lot of people going into those, and it's a weird format. But it's a really meaningful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a super meaningful, measuring stick to see like, all right, like this dude can be at that level. Like then there's no reason that I cannot be at that level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of how we all
Go
took
ahead.
it. My bad, TJ. You go.
No, I was just gonna say, after Luke started, was it after the second Yankee Lake fight? We had gotten reached out to by a woman, Nicole, out of Ohio. She's kind of been like
Yeah.
a mom to us in the MMA industry. She's
I'm sorry, bro.
really good matchmaker out of Ohio.
Nicole Castillo.
Yeah, Nicole Castillo. She had got him, I think, 2 more fights, and then I would just reach out to her every once in a while. I was reaching out to everybody. I would seriously just message every matchmaker. I would go find the matchmaker, and I would message them, and I would tell them, "Hey, this is the guy I got. We want to fight your champion." And I was just headhunting everybody, and Chad was #1 ranked heavyweight in the amateur in the Midwest. So I contacted King of the Cage, and I was like, "Hey, we want Chad." It was a couple months in the making. Yeah, and then like I said, Luke got hurt out there in Arizona, so 4 weeks no training. And I think it was like 4 days notice off the couch type deal.
Yeah, when Tyler called me, I literally had a pint of Ben and Jerry's in my hand.
But it's like, hey, King of the Cage used to be the biggest name in the biz for the regional. All the guys we grew up watching in the UFC, they all came through King of the Cage. So I'm like, we can't turn this one down.
No.
Whereas Chad Johnson was the biggest name Midwest for the amateur MMA at the time in heavyweight. So
No, and especially because when you're trying to break through to whatever the next level is, the name recognition of the organizations that you've been a part of and that you've won in are always important. It's a really good, it's an easy filtering system for someone to say, oh, this guy like won 3 in a row at Cage Fury and then won the CES, light heavyweight chain. That dude's legit. You can already tell. So the name recognition for the organizations has always got to be a big deal. But then this next fight after the Chad Johnson fight was the Darian Abbey no contest. So what happened with the no contest? And that's another one too, where that dude across kickboxing, bare knuckle MMA, and MMA lately, he had that fight with Tim Johnson at 50. So what happened with Darian Abbey? Why was that a no contest? And then, damn it, man! And then the rematch gets canceled for some reason. It's
oh yeah, bummer.
Yeah. So Darian's actually he's another really good guy.
That dude's good shit.
Yeah, we still keep in touch. We talk all the time. We're actually planning on going down there. And I think we're looking for BYB for me to fight on that Miami card in August, and Darian's down in Florida too. So we've been talking about me going down there a few weeks early and getting some training in with them before the fight. But anyway, yeah, it was actually good lead up. We were actually talking a lot of shit to each other before the fight. And excuse me, I'm sorry. My dog's bitching at me. I apologize. We actually had some good fun words exchanged with their coaches and them over Facebook and a few other things. And tensions are high, and they didn't think me or him would make 205 because he's like 6'5", and he's a big boy. And then I'm 6'2", and I was weighing probably 245. But I had like 6 weeks notice, so that was the longest, which was good. But so I get there, and I think what was the scale at the hotel the night before said I was like 206, 207, I think. And I wake up the next morning, weigh myself, and it says I'm 204. It says I was under. All right,
Yeah.
sick.
We went
And
down to a local gym that was sponsoring the event, and they
yeah,
had two scales at this gym. Both of them say Luke's 203. We got to weigh in a couple hours. So we're like, oh, dude, we're golden. We're golden.
So
and then
the way that this is going, I have a strange feeling what is going to happen here.
yeah, Mystic Mac. Yeah, no, yeah. So we end up going to weigh-ins, and he weighs in, and he hits his weight 205, and I was like, oh, damn. All
By
right,
the
well,
way, this is the first time that Darian ever got that small, and he's six
oh
foot six. He was
yeah, he looked. I don't
he
know
needed
how,
a drink of water at least.
but I get on there, step on, and nobody expected me to make the weight, and it goes 209. I was like 209.
Yeah, it was 2096.
2096. And I was like, what the? So I just looked at Tyler, and I was just like, all right, dude, we got work
And
to do.
they're standing up like auditorium style, like
Oh, yeah.
10 feet
We're
up in the
weighing
air
in,
over everybody. So everybody's
yeah,
just looking up at them.
on this stage, and I just, all right, let's get to work. I had an hour to cut to 4.6. So I had
We ran to
Ty-
Walmart.
yeah. Well, I had it
I
back
ran
to
to
the
Walmart.
right. Yeah, and Tyler and my wife ran to Walmart. Then another buddy who was there, and one of our coaches, who was another friend of mine, um, well, yeah, they drove me back to the hotel room. I start warming up, get a sweatsuit on, I start warming up on the pads, waiting for Tyler, my wife, and my buddy Doug to get back. And they went and grabbed peppermint rubbing alcohol, some Epsom salt, and I think that was it.
We
And
all
then
ran in different directions. I sent one person to go grab the sauna sweatsuit, and then I had one person go grab the salt, and then I went and grabbed the rubbing alcohol. Fly
yeah,
back to the hotel room, get the bath ready. He's already pumping it and in just working out.
oh, I think he froze there. But yeah, anyway, uh, yeah, I was warmed up. I was sweating a ton. I get in the tub and sweating it out in there, and then I get out. They wrap me up, and then we did that exchange a couple times, and then I had a few minutes. I think literally when we left our hotel. Luckily, the other hotel was pretty close to where we had to go weigh in again, and I think I had like 15 minutes to get there. So we hop in the car, and Tyler drives me, and we crank the heat, roll up all the
Would I
windows.
have you hit the bath?
Yeah, I'm at the car now. um anyway, yeah, I'm at the car part where so Tyler's driving me, and we got the heat turned all the way up, all the windows up. I'm still in the sauna suit and like sweats over it. And it's so bad and so foggy in the car that he literally can't see. He's trying to wipe down the window as he's driving to this airport or an airport to this hotel. And we get in there, we run in there, I weigh in, and it's like 205.4 or something. I was like, yo, I still have water on me. I was like, let me fully dry off. All right, I sweat. I was like, let me fully dry off and weigh in again. And I'm sitting there naked, and he's filming it. Like I'm cut, like obviously I'm covered, but he's filming it so like the commission or whoever could see because I was in this hotel room. And I finally hit like I think it was 205 on the dot. And they were like, all right, title fight's on. So I was like, holy shit, all right. And I had like 2 minutes to spare.
Wait,
Wildly long story.
so why was it a no contest?
So then we weigh in, we fight next day. We go out there, have a few exchanges. I take him down, get him up against the cage, hit him a few times. He stands up. I dropped him with a left straight in the first round, and then that was right before the bell. I went in to finish, and then the bell rang. Going to the second round, he hit me with like a left hook, and then you weren't allowed to knee to the face in Iowa in amateur mixed martial arts, and he had me in like a clinch, and he went to go throw a knee, and he kind of hit me in my face. And then when we like broke up, I thought he had put his finger in my eye, but I think he just got his knuckle perfectly like in my eyeball or whatever it was. And the ref kind of like paused the fight because they weren't allowed to knee in the face. And I'm just kind of like holding my eye, and I was like, yeah, I think I just got poked in the eye. Like, can I just get like a second? And he's like, are you good? I was like, I'm good. Can I just get a rag or something? And he goes and talks to the doctor, and they were like, oh no, you either if you can't go now, then no contest. And I was like, aren't we supposed to get 5 minutes for like eye pokes or whatever the case may be? And they're like, nope, like, are you good to go? And I was like, yeah, I can't, I'm good to go, but like, can I not get one? And then the ref literally goes, waves it off. And then Darian and I, and even the promoter and everybody was just super fucking confused. And we were just like, all right, you want to run this back? Because it kind of sucked. And we just went out and got drunk together, me and Darian. And then, but yeah, and then that's how it became a no contest. It was the weirdest, oddest. Yeah, I can't even describe it honestly.
That's so much weird stuff to happen. Like the scale differential is nuts. To see to see a 6-pound difference between two scales or three scales, really, because you said there were two scales that said 203.
Yeah.
And had like now a certain amount of reffing. You know, that's a regional MMA show sometimes too. It's like, and it makes you think like when you go through anybody's Tapology page or whatever it is, like, I have no idea what happened in this fight, and I don't know who was reffing it. I don't know who was judging it. Like, it's so hard to judge
Yeah.
results. But Darian sounds like a really cool guy and a really legit fighter. So, at least, you know, even though you guys didn't get to run it back, which would have been great for both of you, it seems like. That's still
Yeah.
been one of the, you know, a good amateur experience for you to have had.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a very well trained fighter. He had very good coaches, and he's moved on to become a pretty good pro. And it definitely wasn't like your normal amateur level, I guess, because you could go to some MMA fights, as I'm sure you know, and you can see amateurs, and you're like, okay, that guy shouldn't be in there, and you're like, all right, that guy's legit, you know, like.
Oh yeah, Bob does a really good job putting on a show. I'd say that's one of probably the best regional show that we've been to. I think him and his wife were like DJs and entertainers, and they do a great job at making you feel like you're at the UFC at a small show. Brady, you know Helen Peralta?
Do I?
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, have you interviewed her? You talked to her? She's fighting for the BYB title here in Louisiana.
I have not talked to her yet.
She was on that card as well.
That's cool. No, I just talked to and now her first name escapes me. I think it's let's see. It's
The one she's fighting, Monica?
Jamie Driver. No. I just talked to Jamie the Red Queen Driver here.
Okay.
I interviewed the last time I talked to like a string of BYB fighters was all before BYB 26, which was I think it might have been down in Louisiana. But now this is the crazy thing is too, because like after I started interviewing BYB fighters, I pay attention to what they're doing on Twitter more, and then they made that announcement on Twitter. Please welcome Lucas Kailing. He's the newest addition to the BYB roster, a heavyweight prospect. And I emailed Cameron within half an hour. I was like, I want to talk to that dude right now, as soon as you can.
That's awesome.
No, and to go back one more thing about regional MMA shows in general, because with all the fighters I've talked to, I've heard so many horror stories. You hear great things too that, like kind of like you said, Tyler, like a lot of organizations are really good about like professionalism. They treat the fighters like they're supposed to, but there's also so many just like really poorly run organizations, just like gyms. There's because it takes bad gyms to kind of feed into bad organizations too. A lot of the time, it takes fighters that aren't ready sometimes, or maybe gym owners who don't have the right motivations for getting guys onto cards. But what do you guys think is the most common reason for an organization not being up to professional standard? Do you think it's more that the people who are running it don't care, or do you think it's more that they just have no idea what they're doing?
I think it's a little bit of both, as well as I think it's very hard to get a lot of quality amateur fighters because everybody wants to be a fighter, until they get punched in the face. And I think there's also a lot of fights, like even myself, I think I've had like 4 fights not happen that were signed contracts because of, God knows what. And it could be a little thing or a big thing. And I think because of that, somebody drops out. Like my first 4 fights, I had no more than 2 weeks notice. And I think it's because people would drop out, and then the promoters are obviously already into the event center and all the other things for cash. And they're like, all right, we need to put on a fight still. So then they just see who has somebody available at that weight. And then it's like, all right, do the records somewhat look, and a lot of times record could be 10-0 and 0-0, but if the records are somewhat decent, or, the guy looks halfway in shape, then they'll give him a shot. And so I think that's a big part. And then the other thing is, I think a lot of them look at it as just like a quick money grab, and they don't want to pay fighters, and they try to skimp out on a lot of the things that really pull an event together.
And Tyler, before I get your
I was
take,
just gonna say,
no, Tyler, you actually go ahead.
Go ahead.
Later.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, to add to that, I just think that people don't really do their homework. I'm not sure what caught your attention with Luke. Maybe you checked out his record, or who he had fought. Obviously this is going to be Luke's pro debut, but when you go look at the guys that he's fought, those guys combined for 39 pro MMA fights, I think now, which that's quite a bit of experience.
Yeah.
And obviously at 5-1, he did his thing. But yeah, I think it's just a lot with just doing your homework, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the thing too, man. It's like, it's kind of a shame because there's not, I searched far and wide. I could not find any videos of your amateur fights, because usually that's obviously something I would like.
There's one on the internet and it is not named, and I'll send it to you if you'd like me to.
Yeah, man, I'd love to check it out. And
I think he deleted the other ones off of Instagram, and then somebody else had one uploaded. Who knows where King of the Cage is holding hostage the Chad Johnson fight these days?
everybody's got
It's probably on some free channel on your Roku TV.
It's actually on UFC Fight Pass.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Well, that's why my search of the internet turned up nothing. I have to check. I gotta have to search on UFC Fight Pass.
And then you'll have to scroll through the whole event to find his. I think it's a co-main though, so.
But like, this is the other thing that what like caught my attention about when BYB, made that announcement that they had signed you, is the BYB, and you've been able to fight in a series of weight classes, light heavyweight, that I believe,
Papa?
I believe it was the fight against Cody Lewis that got canceled. Was that, is it true that was supposed to be at super heavyweight, Lucas?
No, I don't think so. Not that I remember.
It says that on Tapology, and I was like, dude, if this guy jumped up to super heavyweight at some point, that is the most dynamic. Like, you can make 205 and somehow over 260. So that might just be a mistake. But
yeah,
the thing is that regardless of whether you're fighting at, regardless of what weight class you're going to be fighting in at BYB, the BYB heavyweight division, because BYB kind of presented you as a heavyweight product. And the BYB heavyweight division has a lot of interesting names, and like veteran dudes who have been around MMA and boxing and bare knuckle for a long time. And I think that there's a lot of interesting matchups. But so real quick, before we get to what is ahead from BYB.
Yes, sir.
This is going to be your professional debut. Your last amateur fight was a little less than in 2019. No, yeah, a little under 2 years, 5 years ago in 2019.
Yeah.
In between 2019 and now, why is this when you're making your professional debut?
Well, yeah, obviously to start off, I was hoping to be doing that a long while ago. And I had joined the Navy in 2018, and then in 2019 had that fight, and then was supposed to fight, keep it rolling after that. And then, I had moved to Virginia, and then had a couple little injuries, and while I worked for the Navy, like nothing too serious, but just things that just, took time away and things like that. And then my wife got cancer, and then we just kept rolling on, and things just kept, happening that kind of kept me out of it. And then I just ended up moving back to Wisconsin, and I was just like, I can't allow myself not to give it a fair shot. And I know I still have a ton left in me. I mean, yeah, I'm 30 years old. I just turned 30 this past April, but I don't feel 30. I don't have a lot of miles on my body because I wasn't spending the past 5 years killing myself with fights. And granted, that's experience I need, but I still think I'm in pretty damn good shape, and I haven't lost a step. And if anything, my IQ is better because I've maintained training throughout the years and always studying the game. And yeah, I think in a way it's almost better it happened this way. I'm able to really focus on it now and able to train full time, and yeah, put all my attention and efforts towards that. And during that period, I wouldn't have been able to do so. And I think I would have ended up giving some lackluster performances. And yeah, I want to show up with my best, and I'm there now, and yeah, I'm good to go. I'm ready.
Yeah, man, that is a very interesting set of attributes going into your professional career. Is, one, very few, and this is what I was kind of getting at before, is like, it's got to be so hard to be an amateur heavyweight and try to gauge how good you are. Because of all the divisions across all the regional promotions, the ones where you get some of the big, like the guys that shouldn't be there, or that are there to just, get knocked out or whatever it is, it's a lot higher. It's hard. I can't comprehend how there are not more heavyweight prospects in the world of combat sports. Like dudes like you, like you're telling me that there are, it's just crazy that how hard I could go on about that, because it's like, dude, imagine how many people played college football like you did.
Oh,
Like,
dude.
the heavyweight division, to me, is actually one of the more untapped weight classes somehow at this point.
Yeah,
Well, hey, they can send them all to me. I'll help them out.
no, I totally agree. I think there's you have a lot of heavyweights that, how can I put that? They just kind of look a little sloppy. They don't look like professional athletes, even though like they're bad motherfuckers. Excuse my language, but they just don't. I think you don't get a lot of the guys who are extremely athletic at 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 230 to 255 pounds that are choosing mixed martial arts as their main sport right now, like, throughout high school and things like that. I think those type of guys are focused wrestling or football and things like that. And then, but like you brought up the college players, there's a lot of college players that don't make it to the league, and there's still some athletes, and they're starting to trickle in, they're starting to train and get there. It's just hard at that point. I think it's harder to start when you're like 23, 24 and have been so used to playing another sport your whole life. And then you got to go from being this explosive, just linear athlete to somebody who's got to be loose and agile and mobile and good footwork and things like that. And it takes a while to adapt to. But once some of those guys who have that athletic ability and are that explosive start choosing mixed martial arts as their main sport instead of sports like football, then I think that's when you're going to see like a heavyweight version of GSP.
And, this is a fantastic segue, because Lucas, it's clear from the fact that you were in the Navy, the fact that you play college football, not only do you have an athletic advantage that a lot of heavyweights don't have, but it's clear that there's also a cerebral component to it. You compare, what's going on up here and what's going on in the body. So with that, why bare knuckle? Because it seems like an interesting pairing of, the strengths that it takes to be successful in bare knuckle and the strengths that you have, which are really unique in the heavyweight division.
Yeah. So I still plan to have mixed martial
Fight
arts fight.
IQ.
Yeah, that and
You should sit and watch a fight with him.
yeah, my main goal is still UFC. I still, I mean, PFL one, those would be great. Bellator would be great as well. Like, I want to make it to the bigger league mixed martial arts promotions. Um, but a big reason bare knuckle is one, I love it. Two, I figured this would be a good way for me to get back in, like, I guess, fight shape and get ready for, I guess, the MMA fights and things like that. But honestly, with BYB, I feel like it's the perfect scenario for me. It's a triangle, and good luck, moving. You're going to get your angles cut off. You're going to get pushed in the corner. And on top of that, it's very small. It forces you to engage. And I start very fast, and I think you need to be able to start quick in bare knuckle, especially BYB being the triangle. And yeah, it's amateur, but if you go look at my fights, I think all knockout, all under a minute. So there's obviously some power there, and yeah, dude, I just feel like it's the perfect mix of everything for me to be able to display what I can do. And dude, there's some badasses in BYB, and I wouldn't necessarily just want to be limited to heavyweight. I'll fight light heavyweight. I'll fight whatever weight I can make, and put on a bunch of good fucking fights. And there's some dudes you could crack in there. So obviously you got to be, weary, and you got to be on your game. But if you think you're gonna come in the fight game and not at least believe you're gonna win every fight, then you shouldn't be in the fight game. So yeah, my expectation is to come in and just do what I did.
Triangle. The fact, and especially for a fighter with your style, where you can just blitz someone from corner to corner, there's no escape. And so in BYB, you always see it's so hard to recover when you start a fighting off your back foot, and going backwards, because there's too much damage that can be done in a short period of time. But that's the other thing too about making your pro debut 5 years after your last amateur fight is BYB has eyes on it right now. And it's something where, like, yeah, you could go and start off your professional career on, a KOTC card and, get away and get 5 in a row and then maybe end up in the Contender Series. But like, that's kind of, there's so many fighters out there and there's so many opportunities that are, hit and miss that, starting off in BYB, it seems like a great way to get eyes on what you can do. And, maybe you end up getting, a fight against Hurricane Ike, and that goes well, and then you go and fight a sumo wrestler over in Rising. Like, it's that kind of thing where it's important, especially in this period of time where you're making your pro debut, to let people know very early who Lucas Kailing is.
Dude, absolutely.
Absolutely.
You nailed it, man. And it's like the merger they just had.
Yeah. Crazy.
Going to Dubai. Yeah, oh yeah. Going to Dubai, the new CEO who just took over, they went to London last year in the O2 Arena. That's no small arena. So they're definitely moving up. They're making moves. And just like you said, we did kind of think about, like, all right, what would be a good way to be able to kind of put me on the scene kind of quickly? And not that there's any shortcuts or anything, but, just display what I can do. And
we're not here for a long time.
Yeah. And yeah, I think BYB was just a good fit, and thankfully they were open to having me, and I'm very appreciative of it. I'm excited.
Here, Brady, here's what we're gonna do. Luke's gonna go in there. He's gonna starch these first 2 guys, and then I'm gonna have BKFC contact BYB, and I'm gonna have them say we're gonna buy out Luke's contract, or we got to renegotiate. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but actually, that you bring up BKFC. So Ben Rothwell's from Kenosha, and he's awesome, and he has a MMA gym here. Has for quite some time now. I think
could have the first years. Champion versus champion,
and he was kind of the first big star out here. Obviously, Anthony Pettis is a little bit north of us in Milwaukee, and he had a couple other guys come out of here. But he's getting older. Obviously, he's about to fight for the championship, and I was joking around with Tyler, and I was just like, it'd be fun to kind of send him off a little bit. He was one of the first gyms I went to, and when I was young, and feel like it'd be a kind of poetic justice there. Yeah.
Now it's crazy, especially where you're from. Like Ben Rothwell running a gym. Was there like a good amount of heavyweights that like came out of that area? But is it something that just naturally flows into, like, you're from a part of the country where they grow them bigger? Like,
Yeah.
like there's a reason the NFL draft looks like it does every year. And so like, did it end up being kind of a good place to come up as a heavyweight? Because just with Ben Rothwell,
Hell no.
no.
No. Yeah. I mean, I think early on, and there's definitely a lot of big dudes here. I mean, it's the Midwest, a lot of farm boys, a lot of corn-fed dudes, and there is a couple good heavyweights in there. But I think in Kenosha, a lot of those bigger dudes just kind of were sticking to wrestling around that time, wrestling for high schools or colleges. You know, we have Parkside University here in Kenosha. It's a D2 school, but those dudes always win the D2 championship.
I'm sure that those dudes like could go transition to MMA very well.
Oh.
It's like if you're a D2 hockey player in Minnesota, it's like I'm quite sure
Yeah.
that guy is a professional level player.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple of the dudes from that school actually that are actually up and coming in MMA, and they're doing very well. But for Ben's gym, I think in the beginning when he first started out, for maybe like the first 5 years, it was hard for him to, I think, really put together a super quality training program because he was still so focused on his career at the time. And he was one of the coaches there too. And I think it was just kind of hard for him to maybe balance both. And then as he kind of transitioned a little bit out of the UFC and MMA game, and he was able to, get everything together the way he wanted it to. And now that he's in BKFC, there's actually a lot of dudes over there now, and a couple really good big guys over there. But I think he's doing a lot better now, coach wise, program wise, things like that than he was when he first started.
And dude, for how successful Bareknuckle is right now, and for how like many organizations are putting on good shows, it just hit me that it just makes me sad that Kimbo Slice isn't still around, because it would have no matter. I don't care if that dude's 60 years old. Like, it was tailor made for that platform.
Talk about full circle, huh? That would have been amazing. Oh yeah, dude.
Well,
my bad.
No.
I was gonna say we
We
don't
the unsanctioned version on YouTube.
Yeah, well, yeah. we don't have
Come on,
him
Bird.
here, but you got Game Bread doing the bare knuckle MMA, so I think he kind of took that and ran with it. And I don't know if you remember, but that's where he had got his start. Jorge Masvidal was a couple of those fights. He knocked some dude's eyeball out, I think, in one of them. Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, that's really like one of the first staples of YouTube. Like, that was one of the first videos that people ran to go see, was like, dude, like, have you heard of Kimbo Slice?
Dude, yes. Yeah. That was in the golden era of social media and YouTube, I think. That, now it's just all business and everything. Back then it was just who could put up the craziest shit. Everybody wants to go watch it.
And so this is what I kind of want to cap off with. We talked for about 50 minutes. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot from both of you about what just the regional scene that you're at, and how certain things work. That's always something I find so fascinating, is like there's always different stuff. It just growing up in different regions and coming up in different regions of the world or of the country. The different experiences people have in those shows is always fascinating. But dude, you're about to make your pro debut. It's got to be an exciting time for you guys, and to be doing it at BYB, and for that exciting division. It's an organization that I've only heard people love working with, and I want to hear from both of you on this. Just really, what's to come from Lucas Kailing and BYB and in the professional world of combat sports?
Well, I think August 10th is supposed to be the Miami card, and I think that's first on order. And I don't know who would be my opponent yet, but as soon as I do, the contract will be signed. And I mean, I expect to show up and show out, and I expect just to do what I did. And obviously, I want to get a finish, and I'm not going to call any like shots here and say it's going to be in this round or that round. But yeah, I expect to go in there and have a good fight and send someone to the shadow realm and then do that 3 more times. I'm on a 4-fight contract with them, and yeah, that's just really the plan. And during that, I haven't used my social media in a while, so I'm gonna get that ramped back up and put out a lot of videos so people can follow along and see the journey. And Tyler's brother is Tristan Jackson, Instagram, YouTube star, and got a few million followers. So maybe he'll throw some things out there, and get a lot more eyes on it. And yeah, I just during that time, if I have an MMA fight, then that too, and I expect to win that. But for BYB specifically, yeah, 4-fight contract, I expect to go 4-0, 4 knockouts.
Tyler, what say you?
You heard me. We'll talk after too. No, but yeah, I don't see anything changing from the the amateur record. I think not many, there isn't. I mean, you go look at the UFC roster, go look at all the rosters. There's not any heavyweights. If there's very few, very few who move the way Luke can. They don't have the physical ability. And yeah, we talked about the regional scene. It's homework, do your homework, the fight IQ. His fight IQ is ridiculous. And when you combine that with his physical ability, it's yeah, we're putting people on notice, or they will be put on notice August 10th. Hopefully Mel gets a hold of me soon, and we can figure out where we're going or who we're fighting.
And Lucas, I genuinely believe that if they had announced instead that your pro debut was going to be on the Contender Series, I think that would be legit too. Like, I honestly think that, especially for the heavyweight division, I don't care that you haven't had a fight in about 5 years. I do think that based on the guys that you fought and what you did to the guys that you beat, I think that, like, it wouldn't take a whole lot for me to be convinced that, like, you could make your way in through that. It wouldn't be, take too much time at all.
We're hoping that's what he's going to show everybody else.
Yeah,
again.
Definitely. And no, I appreciate you saying that too. And no disrespect to Chad, but watching his fight on UFC or the Contender Series, he didn't grow from the fight him and I had, and he was the same guy. And not taking anything away from him, he's a good fighter. He's a great dude, and he's living in northern Wisconsin, having a good life. But I think that easily could have been me, and I believe I would have put on a better show. And again, no disrespect to him. Obviously everybody wants to say they're the best, and I'm not saying that right now, but I will one day. And yeah, dude, I think the big thing for me is speed. I feel like there's not a lot of heavyweights that are fast and really can throw like a middleweight can, or and be fluid. There's a lot of them that just kind of get sloppy. Tom Aspinall's a monster. A couple of guys at BYB, Zion, he's a beast. And I just watched his fight the other day. I forgot who he fought for that. Oh, who did he fight? I'm sorry, but that dude's a beast. I think that'd be a fun fight. But yeah, man, I don't think there's a lot of dudes who are gonna be able to gauge the speed.
And so, first of all, folks, thank you for listening to another Interlude episode of RotoBaller's official MMA podcast, Tap That. Again, follow me on Twitter at RotoBrady. Lucas is going to get his social media popping. Go find him wherever he's going to be at. Again, this is a UFC off week, but follow me on Twitter for picks on all major MMA and combat sports, boxing events, whatever. And then follow the podcast at Tap That MMA Podcast on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Thank you very much to Lucas Kailing and Tyler for being here. And the last thing I want to cover, I'm really glad we were able to have this conversation. Yeah. And I can't wait to see what's next from you. Folks, a guy to watch, Google him, Lucas Kailing. Keep him in your search history because you're going to be wanting to look him up every few months. But absolutely, if there's anybody or anything that either you want to shout out or anything like that, the floor is yours.
No, man, I want to appreciate you giving me the time and being interested and talking to me. And I think actually what you're doing is awesome because there's a lot of dudes who didn't get the right shake in their life and just got thrown off. And there's a lot of dudes with some very interesting stories who are some bad fucking dudes. And I think something like this gives them a good platform. And it opens your eyes to a few more people. So I want to appreciate you, appreciate BYB for giving me the opportunity. And yeah, man, I'm ready. I'm just excited. I'm itching, man. It's been a minute and that's where I feel at peace. So I'm ready to go.
Shout out Nicole Castillo. She's carried us on her back, I'd say. And shout out to Mel.
Mhm.
Folks, thank you so much for listening. Try to get through this UFC off week all right. Try to get on UFC Fight Pass. There's going to be plenty to watch. Have yourselves a great Memorial Day weekend and peace.